We're talking a little bit today. We all know it's hot in Central Texas, but this can really play a huge factor on our elderly, our older population. The heat, they can be very vulnerable to the heat, and some people just may not think about that, but it's important to keep in mind, especially if you do have some older folks in your life in senior care homes. Why, first, I guess, are seniors more vulnerable to the heat than probably, let's say, you and I?
Well, I think that, some of the things are there's a decrease in their ability to thermoregulate. And so as people age, they have the inability to maintain their own body temperature. And so some of our older adults, that it could be hot outside and they've got, they've got shirts on and they've got, a hat on. And so they don't really understand and their body doesn't understand. So when they go outside dressed like that, that's a really big problem. They also, you may not know, have a decreased sweat response. And so sweating is really important, its ability to cool down your body. And so as we age, that is one of those things that, doesn't seem to work as well. Also with chronic health conditions. So many of our seniors have diabetes, heart disease, respiratory disease. And so with those chronic conditions, it makes it more and more difficult on their heart and their lungs to pump if their heart rates are up and they're really, really hot. And the other thing is we all know about limited mobility. And so when, seniors don't have the ability to actually get out of shade and they're standing there, maybe they're at a soccer game or a baseball game and they're so excited to see their, grandchildren play, and they don't realize that they're really becoming hot. And so they just they forget, to come out of the sun. We want to make sure that they're wearing, a wide brim hat, light clothes, and also some glasses as well.
Okay, yeah, all great tips. And the signs and symptoms of heat exhaustion, heat stroke, what should people be looking for in seniors?
Absolutely. So heat exhaustion is one of those things that is really, really can impact someone and cause to be an emergency. So it starts out with heat exhaustion. So think about what it's like if you're going to have a heart attack. Some of the signs and symptoms that you would think about with someone having a heart attack. So heavy sweating, maybe they're having weakness and fatigue. We have dizziness or lightheadedness. Also headaches is one of those things. They have a pale or clammy skin, muscle aches and fatigue. Those are all signs and symptoms that they might actually be having heat exhaustion. And what ends up happening is that heat exhaustion can actually turn into a heat stroke. And that's when the body temperature can elevate greater than 104 degrees. That is actually an emergency. So you want to, if you're seeing those signs and symptoms, or even some of the ones of heat exhaustion, you want to get your person out of the heat immediately. You want to get them to a cool area, get them to the air conditioning, get them to the fan. Also use some cool compresses on them if you have to give them something cold to drink. And if their body temperature and they're seeming very lethargic and they're not coming around, you want to take them to the emergency room or call 911 immediately, because it absolutely can be a medical emergency.
Okay. Are there any basic safety rules that, family caregivers, they should keep in mind as we are in the thick of summer right now? In these summer months.
Absolutely. And one of the things I wanted to say is that with folks that are taking care of elderly that have dementia or Alzheimer's, they actually don't recognize that they're hungry or thirsty a lot of the times. And so if you have a loved one that lives by themselves and maybe has mild cognitive impairment, it's really important that you check on them often, because they just sometimes don't think about the fact that they really need to drink. And I know that, I'm sure you are as too, like we are drinking so much more, and water is the best source of hydration. And it's, our body is craving it. And so we want to make sure that, that we're checking on people. The other thing is, helping them to stay cool in a shaded area, because a lot of times they do want to participate in events. There are family events, family vacations, there are family reunions, they are parties. And so, being mindful that they may not recognize when it's time to tell you that they need a break. And so scheduling breaks as if you would with your children. The other thing is you want to make sure that you are avoiding overexertion. And so, sometimes we all get a little overzealous, even in the pool, and you think that, maybe your loved one's in a pool and they're a senior. keep in mind that that sun is really hot. It reflects off the water. And so wearing sunscreen, frequent breaks are really, really important, and lots of time for snacks and drinks. And so in getting out of that direct sunlight and honestly into the air conditioning as quickly as possible.
Right. Well, you answered all my questions. That was perfect. Was there anything else that you would like to add? Maybe I forgot to include?
Um, Maybe just a little bit about, what are some things that I could just say it right now.
Sure.
What are some things that we could do in order to adapt? Oh, let's see, hold on. Let's talk about adapting summertime activities for seniors and people that are aging. So one of the things that's helpful to do is choosing cooler times of the day. And so sometimes that's actually a joke around here because 5 or 6 o'clock in the morning is really kind of nice. It actually is starting to feel at times a little bit like the fall, maybe for about 20 minutes. So if you can do things early before 10, in the morning, and also after 4 p.m., that's really helpful. Honestly, until that sun goes down, you may need to do your walk until the sun goes down. The other thing is we've talked about providing shade and protection of each individual. We want to make sure that we are planning maybe some more indoor activities instead of those outdoor activities. We've had a particularly hot summer this summer, and I know that our kids and even adults like to be outside and enjoy that sun, but it's really important that you take time and hydrate yourself to make sure that you're safe during the sunny times.